one of the things that I got to do is see the area. Beyond just the school, we got to do some touring. And that was very interesting because this is the Centro. The Centro is a large mall in Oberhausen where a steel mill used to sit, much like the waterfront for us. At one point, this was the largest mall in all of Europe. Interestingly enough, one of the projects that one of our students did, and he did this as part of his senior project, was to research Homestead and the Homestead strikes and make a video about the art here and interview people at the River of Steel about Homestead. So that's one of the things that, when it is finished, will be shared with the German students. This actually is adjacent to the Centro, and it's remains of the steel mill, and that is a gasometer, which we did not have at our steel mills, but it was something that they had in Germany that produced heated gas that they used during their smelting process. And they have taken this and made it into a tourist attraction, and the inside is actually exhibit space for really large exhibits. Right now it's the solar system. The room is huge. They've got amazingly large things. So things that we would never have in a museum like this, they're able to reuse that museum, or that space, that old industrial space for. Their entire approach to their buildings and their industry is very different than ours, where we are very much a knock down, put up something new. They're very much how can we use it? This is a park, and it is actually the entire steel mill site. As you can see, there in some of the processes, they kept it intact the way it was. You walk up to the blast furnace, you're up like 100 meters. In the distance, you can actually see a working steel mill. In the grounds, there are parks for picnics. There is a climbing wall. They made it a destination point, and they didn't change it. It is an old, rusting steel mill, which just amazes me. My big question was, what about the I'm American. What about the liability? Because you can just walk, you know, and there are a little bit of graffiti up really high, where it was challenging, but not a whole bunch. And it's not a problem. One of the things that they did there is, this is also another gasometer. They took this, which is a much smaller gasometer. It is a swimming tank. They have a scuba club in Duisburg, where this is, and they use an old gasometer to practice their scuba in. Very creative in the way that they decided to use their old industrial sites. This is another image showing some of the park areas where you can go for picnics. On this side, you see the climbing wall, and of course, an IKEA, because this is in part of the, you know, life still goes on the way that there as it does here. In our travels, and I think this was in Essen, we didn't, you know, we were touring, but we didn't forget that we had a job. We're actually on a wireless connection here, and we are Skyping with the technology person at Greensburg, Salem. This is an interesting museum too. I was just fascinated. I was so glad that I had a chance to go, and I so regretted that more people weren't able to join us. They had originally built, not this particular location of the museum, but this museum was originally built in 1929, and at that time it had the largest collection of modern art in Germany. When the Nazis came into power, they did not like that art. They did not agree with that as even being art, and they sold or destroyed the collection. We happened to be there for the exhibit where they had brought back as much of that collection as they could, so we got to see the artwork that had been there in 1930 before the Nazis took over. And as we continued our travels, we went to paper making. Before the Industrial Revolution, after the Industrial Revolution. They save absolutely everything so that they have it for posterity. This is a building that they save it in. It is a very famous building in Oberhausen. The architect, Peter Behrens. It was a contemporary of Frank Lloyd Wright. One of the interesting things about this is it was the first building in Germany where it was designed for people who drive past it as opposed to walk past it. So all the ornate things that you think of in Germany aren't there. It's very clear lines so that you can see the beauty of the building as you're going by at 30 miles an hour. It was 5 floors of storage. Things that are from German life, things that were produced in Germany, things that represent Germany are all stored in that building. And it is the building where the
Oriole landed.
Thank you. Exhibit is going to be opening up soon. We also went to Cologne. And this is the Cologne Cathedral, which is large and under construction, always, or repair I should say, not construction. And a fascinating thing about this, and one of the things that they were very open talking about, is how their lives changed in the 30s and 40s, and that impact. Cologne had basically been flattened by the Allies during World War II, and this building was not hit at all. I asked them how that could possibly be, and what I was told is that the Allies went out of their way to preserve the church, that they did not bomb the cathedral. Now, it was damaged because there were bombs going on all around it, but this particular building was unharmed structurally. So, interesting thing is that in the shadow of this building is a little plaza. And in the plaza, there is a structure that tells the story of a Grimm's fairy tale. Now, it's a story I've heard before, but I wasn't real familiar with it. And it's the story of this young woman who, by some miracle, would go to bed and her dishes would be dirty and the house would be filthy, and she'd wake up in the morning and everything would be clean and sparkling and waxed and polished. And all she was told was, take advantage of it. Don't bother trying to find out how it happened. Well, she was a young woman, much like our students. And she was very curious. And one night she got up and she saw these little guys doing all the work. That was the last night that her house was clean in the morning because they saw her spine and they stopped helping her. So I was thinking about this image, and I'm actually going to end here because, you know, we want our kids to be curious. We want them to learn about each other's cultures. And this has been a great way for them to make those kind of connections and to understand that art and industry have a real connection to one another, and that they need to ask those questions. How did that happen, and what comes next? And they need to realize that as you look at the art around you and the world around you, there is a real basis of the way things work together, and that our lives here in the United States are not that different from those lives in Germany. We may eat different foods. I guess I'm going to show the next slide anyway. This is a view of Oberhausen from the top of the gasometer. And the very last one shows another view of Oberhausen, and we'll go back to a football game because they did stress to us that they have football and we do not. It has been a wonderful experience for our students, and I'm so glad that the teachers and the students have embraced it the way they have, and that they are planning on taking it a next step next year, and hopefully with more notice have a chance to involve more teachers and more students. Thank you.